All right, welcome to the Regular Joe's podcast. Today with me, I have my boy Izzy.
What up? What up?
He's 20 years retired. 3 years he's been retired. He served from 98 to 2018 uh, with 5 deployments. And how him and I know each other is we deployed together, or I deployed. He was there for a year in Honduras in 2010. And so, I mean, we've talked a couple times since then, but I mean, it's kind of like everybody else. We kind of just go our separate ways. And so, what I want you to do is, since you've been retired 3 years, you're going full time now to school. And I just want you to tell your story of how it's been for you to transition from military life to now a student to retiree.
Sure. First, let me just say two things. First, I want to commend you, Mike, on establishing this platform, especially for those veterans that are making the transition. I think it's something that definitely is needed. I know there's probably more podcasts like this, but it's something I feel like veterans definitely need to either hear so that way they could get some inputs on what they might be going through similar situations or whatnot, or just even just for advice. So, and the second thing is I heard your story, man, and I'm glad that you were honest about it, and I think that's the point of this is it's to have real talk, because a lot of times veterans when they go to the VA, or as many times as I've been to the VA dealing with veteran service officers and other folks in those offices, is like they just tell you what you want to hear. They're not being real with you. They're not beating around the bush. They just trying to see you just as a customer, and that's pretty much it. So, but I commend you on doing this and being honest with it. So that's awesome on you. But yeah, man. Let me see. I retired back in 2018. I did 20 years in the Air Force, and honestly, it was probably the best thing that I could have done. And the funny thing is that there was no military like history in my family. My mom and dad came from Puerto Rico to the United States, moved to New York and Brooklyn, and my mom was a nurse at the time. My dad did janitorial services for the hospital, and I was the youngest of five, and there was no military. So my older sibling, after he graduated high school, he wanted out. He was like, I need to get out of Brooklyn. I didn't want to be here no more. So he was the first that opened the doors for the military lifestyle because he joined the Marines. So after him, I had two other brothers who are twins. They both went in. So one went in the Navy, one went in the Marines, and I was the last. And my mom, she already was like, you're all going military. Everybody's going military. No fucking college, no nothing besides my sister. She's like, everybody's going military. You guys need to get off the fucking streets. And it's not like growing up in Brooklyn was bad. I'm sure everybody has their stories of growing up, how things might have been hard on the streets and stuff like that. But for me, that was normal. I grew up with friends that were dealing drugs. I had friends that were doing drugs, and these are teenagers. You know what I'm saying? But that was the streets. That's what it was like growing up. But I knew that if I would have went to college, I probably would not have focused as much. I probably would have been still in the partying scene and everything else, even though that didn't change when I went in the military. So, but for the most part, my mom didn't want us there. She saw the streets was not good for us. So next thing you know, all my brothers are in. I told my mom, I said, Ma, I don't want to do the military. I want to go to college. College for me. And I tell you what, she looked at me. She goes, "Con qué dinero?" Meaning with what money? So my mom wasn't gonna pay for it. So this was me like in the 10th, 11th grade, and I'm already like, yeah, these college advisors are coming into the school. These colleges are like available and everything else, but I didn't know any better. I didn't know about grants. I didn't know about TA. I didn't know nothing like that. So my mom, I think it was my senior year, my mom actually sort of dragged me to the recruiter's office, and she was like, you're going to take this test, you're going to pass it, and you're going into the military. And I wanted to enjoy my senior year. I wanted to enjoy hanging out with my friends and everything else. So I bombed the ASVAB. I was like, I'm not passing this shit. So I took the summer, chilled with my friends and everything else. But then I started seeing that there was no progression. You know what I'm saying? The same kids were on the same stoop. The same people were hanging out in the same corner stores, same park, same this, same that. And I was like, you know what, I got to make a change. So then January of '98 is when I took the ASVAB. I think it was back in November, December. I was in the delay program. And then finally, the recruiter came and picked me up in January 22nd, 1998 is when I left to go to basic training. And I never looked back. I mean, it was, like I said, it was the best thing I could have done for my life. The good thing is that with having siblings already in it and experiencing it, they were able to give me, inputs on what the lifestyle was like. They all were like, don't join the Marines. I have friends that were in the Army. They were like, don't join the Army. They were like, go in the Air Force. So I was like, okay, Air Force is it, man. Like I'm going in there. And it was great. I mean, I had my ups and downs here and there, but for the most part, it gave me everything that I needed to sort of set me up for where I am at now. So after I retired in 2018, my initial plan was to go overseas. I wanted to work overseas. I wanted to live overseas, specifically with Spain. And my older brother at the time, he was going through an ugly divorce and everything, and he was living with a mutual friend of ours. So the friend ended up getting married and everything. So then he became, the third wheel, so the third roommate, and he couldn't deal with that no more. So he and I talked and everything, and he was like, why don't you come down here? We'll get a house, live together, everything else, because he was like, I need to get out of there. So I did that, family first, man. So I decided to come help my brother out and everything else. So we got the house together, and this is where I'm at now. So I took a 7 month sort of decompression layoff. Like I didn't want to do shit. Like I was like, I just did 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, I need my body to just relax. I want to do some me time. I just want to chill. I don't even want to think about work or nothing like that. So for 7 months, I basically was a bum. I let my beard grow out, I let my hair grow out. I didn't have to worry about shaving no more. I mean, I stayed committed to the gym just because to maintain a healthy lifestyle and everything. But that was pretty much it. My routine was wake up, go to the gym, come home, and just watch TV, sleep, do it all over again. Finally, around July, after many months of the family antagonizing me on going to school, they were like, "You ain't doing shit with yourself. Go back to school. Get your education, get your degree, do this, do that." And I was like, "All right, whatever. Let me think about it, and I'll see what's up." So then in August, I enrolled in a Valencia College here in Florida, and next thing you know is I just kept going back to back. It was like the semesters were going by pretty quick and everything else, and I was like, man, I could do this. I'm not having any issues trying to, from zone and then coming back to school. That was a little of a hassle just because I wasn't like really familiar with the maths and the English, how to write papers and things like that because, for 20 years, all I was focusing on was the Air Force. So once I got into that and I got into a groove, it was like I ended up graduating with my associates after sort of a year and a half in Valencia because they were able to count my military credits. So that was able to transition over. And then once I got my associates, I just kept going. I easily could have stopped and be like, let me get some work, but I decided to continue on and now be graduating this May with my bachelor's. But the one perk in making this transition here to live with my brother is that also allowed me to not have to juggle school and work. So living with my brother sort of made it sort of fair to where my money wasn't hurting on paying a mortgage or anything like that if I was by myself. Because I'll be honest with you, man, the cost of living here in Florida is expensive. And if I would have been out here by myself, I definitely would have had to get a job. So living with him, it's sort of, we split the bills and everything else. It made it convenient for me to just focus on school and not have to worry about, dealing with work as well. So, and right now, I just got to see once I graduate what I want to be when I grow up, man. And that's right now. It's still a plan that I'm trying to figure out. I know it's getting close to the window, but it's something I definitely got to look into to see what I want to do. I mean, my intention is still I want to go overseas. I want to do something just different. I don't want to be in the United States. Not that I don't like being in the United States, but I just want to do something different. I mean, I'm young, single. I don't have kids to worry about. I don't have a wife to worry about, and that's probably one reason why I never had any in the military is because I saw all my friends, like you guys, even the single parents constantly having to find support for the kids if they got deployed. It was just to me, I saw it as a hard life,
Mm.
like growing up in Brooklyn where I had childhood friends, these military kids, unfortunately, they won't know what that is, because they were constantly being moved around and with all the PCSs and everything else. And I mean, one of my boys, man, he saw his child being born through Skype because he was deployed to Iraq and the Air Force was not going to send him back. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So it was just little things like that I was like, yeah, I don't want to put myself in those type of situations. I mean, that's just not for me. So, but it definitely was an adjustment. School especially. I mean, man, 38 years old. Here I am going back to school at 38, and it was like you said in your story, man. I would sit there and honestly, in the Air Force, whenever you did commander's call or any type of leadership conference, they always tell you sit in the front. Like don't sit in the back, you sit in the
Right.
front. So because this was sort of new to me, that's what I did. In every class, I sat in the front because one, I've been out of school for 20 years. Two, I want to make sure I'm understanding what the professor's talking about, and if I have any questions, I'm there. Or if I need to stay after class, I stay after class. But I'm a visual learner. I
Mm.
need to be able to see and understand the information. So that's why I did it. Plus it was that military bearing thing. Like, the professor to me, I saw it as a leadership role. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna
Mm.
give the professor the respect. So I'm gonna sit in the front and give her my full attention. And let me tell you, these fucking young kids, man, you don't know how many times it will irk me. Like you said, they will show up not giving a fuck. They will come to class, no initiative. They would sit there and they would just either be on their cell phone or just not even giving the professor any attention to listening to what the professor was talking about. And it was mind blowing, man, because it's like, there's kids that would love to be in your position to be able to go to school. Like some of my classmates, they were the like DACA students. Like they were coming in on visas,
Mm.
trying to make something for themselves. But yet here's these other kids whose mom and dad are don't give a shit that they pay for their school, and these kids that don't take advantage of that. They just sit there and just like it is what it is, or they'll come to class one day and then the next 3 days they're not in class. Like they didn't give it. The respect for the professor, one, wasn't there, and two,
Mm.
they just didn't give a fuck. Like if they didn't pass, they didn't pass. But my mentality wasn't like that. I was like, I can't afford that. What I'm saying? The GI Bill is helping me with this, and there's repercussions to it. If I don't maintain a certain GPA or pass classes or whatever, then my GI Bill is done. They're gonna be like, either you paying us back or you're not getting no more. You
Right.
know. So that was an adjustment I had to make, man, and it was like it would irk me because I would try to give my 100% to whatever task the professor would give, and these kids would half-ass the shit or do as much just to show that the professor that they did what the professor said, and they would get the same grade. So I was like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. And I mean, I saw that in the military too. I would work with E6, and because he would half-ass shit, he and I getting the same paycheck. He probably is, they're getting retirement like I'm getting retirement, but yet I always wanted to go 110%. Meanwhile, this guy would go 50%, and it didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like people weren't held, were being accountable for their actions and stuff. So that was one of the adjustments, man. Like I'll give you a story. So I'm in my I think it was in my either my English or my humanities class. And the professor goes, I would like for you guys to bring in an item that's memorable to you, to your life, or whatever the case may be. So I said, cool. I said, the military is my life, and so that's what I'm gonna bring in. So I brought in like my retirement certificate. I brought in my dog tags. And I explained to the classmates like what it meant for me, why these items are memorable. So the teacher goes, great, good job, everything else. This girl, fuck, this girl comes up and she holds up a Chipotle bag. Okay, a motherfucking Chipotle bag because that's where she worked. And she said, "Hey guys, this Chipotle bag means so much to me because reminds me of my first job. Thank you." And I was like, "What the fuck? It just happened right now. This can't be it." But those are the adjustments that I had to make, because I wasn't in the military no more. I had to try to grasp that now it's a civilian world, and you basically got to sort of make adjustments because that's now the world that you live in, unfortunately, and that's why I was grateful for the Air Force, especially even now going back to school at my age, because one, I got so much experience. Two, like maturity and mentally, like I had grown from it, so like I understand etiquette, I understand respect, I understand time management, I understand, how to prioritize, the school assignments and everything else. Whereas if I would have been like these kids 18, 19, who knows, I probably would have been like, I don't give a fuck, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I mean, the military definitely helped me out with that. But for the most part, man, it's an adjustment because we've been so structured, and we sort of been given the guidance on what to do. Like you and I, we knew where we were going to next. We knew because we had orders. We knew we were getting deployed, how long we were going to be away. If we needed financial help, we knew where to go in the installation. If we needed to talk to somebody, we knew where to go. If we needed medical help, we knew where to go. The base itself is it's its own little city. It's its
Yeah.
own little world. It's built to the point where you don't even need to leave the base. When I first started out in the dorms, I didn't have a license. I didn't have a car. So for me to get from point A to point B, I bought myself a mountain bike, and that's what I would do is just take my bike to the BX, the DFAC, or whatever the case. But I didn't need to go outside. Everything was there for me. So, but again, I was given the guidance. Plus I had people, I had mentors I could talk to. I had some good supervisors that I was able to talk to, and they were able to, keep me on the right path. Where in the civilian world, man, it's like Hunger Games. It's every person for themselves sometimes. Unfortunately, it's sad to say that, but it is. I mean, in school, these kids, they would try to put you in group projects. None of these kids want to talk. None of these kids want to take initiatives, take leads to try to, do well for the group. And I would sit there with these young classmates, and literally for like 10 to 20 minutes, we'll be in silence because I didn't want to take over.
Right, right,
I could
right.
have easily take over, but I'm saying to myself, they are the ones who need to step up
Right.
because they're coming behind me. At this point, I'm already 39, going to 40. I was like, they need to start taking the initiative to do what they need to do because I'm almost like their parents. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? God forbid, when it's our time to go, it's gonna be these are supposedly our future leaders. But dude, we would sit there for like 20 minutes silent until finally I'll be like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Bam, 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 bam. And I mean, it probably didn't help that I had a long ass beard, so they probably were looking at me like, yo, this old guy probably has the wisdom and knowledge, so let him take the lead on everything. But to this day, they still do group projects, and I don't
Mm.
understand why. Because these kids just don't have the concept of the group dynamics. Whereas I did because the Air Force helped me with that.
Right, right.
The Air Force. Remember on deployments, when I would go on my deployments, it was just me. Everybody that I met on my deployments were from all different bases. They were all from different backgrounds. So you had to sort of break out of your shell to talk to people because you're working with them. You know what I'm saying? And for me, the best way to work with somebody is if me and you know each other. If we
Right.
if we create that bond, that relationship, then work is cake. Work is smooth. You know.
Mm.
But if you go in there like an introvert and you don't want to fucking talk to nobody or understand what's going on or anything else, then it's gonna be a tough time. you know. But yeah, I mean that was one of the adjustments, man. Was going back to school. I'm grateful that the GI Bill is covering for it because these kids and these college debts, man, it's these student loan debts and everything is crazy. Like some of my nieces right now, they're like $25,000 in
Oof.
debt. My sister's still paying her debt, and she graduated her master's like 10 years ago. So, but that's one thing I'm grateful for. But again, it took adjusting to these young classmates, to these young students, and the thing is, I couldn't like I try to sort of go with the mindset of developing versus micromanaging. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Because I easily could have been like, hey, this is how we're going to do it because I want to get the A. But
right.
instead, I'm not helping them. You know what I'm saying? And I think being a supervisor
Mm,
and having airmen under me sort of made me always have that mindset to look out for them and try to develop them and build them versus just going being that fucking asshole supervisor there. It's my way or the highway,
right,
and
right.
that's something that I want to do. So one other thing also that I'll mention is after I finished Valencia College, they had this program called CARE. It was an acronym. It was CARE, and basically what it was, you were called a care coach. And as a care coach, not only did you help tutor kids, but you also were there for them off classroom time. So God forbid if they had some personal issues or they needed to talk to somebody, they didn't know how they were going to get money to pay for their books or things like that. Like this program was developed to be able to help these kids in need. And I tell you, man, that was I was fortunate enough to have done that for at least a little over a year to 2 years, and it felt like I was back in the Air Force,
Mm,
man. Like it felt like I had my airmen under me again. I felt like I was a supervisor again because not only was I helping them with their math class, but I was also taking the time, dedicating time for them as well. Like I would come on the weekends and do one-on-one sessions with them, but I always made sure that I always started off with a how are you doing? It
mm,
would never just dwell right into the course because it showed them like I'm like you, man. I'm a student just like you're a student, but I wanted to set that environment for them to understand like I'm approachable. I can talk. You could talk to me or whatever the
right,
case
right.
be, and it's not just all about the course. So once we had a little chit chat and everything else, then we got to the work and everything. But it was just so rewarding, just to see that these I would get emails from these students telling me, "Oh my God, thank you, Mr. Izzy. I appreciate. I passed the class and everything else. Oh, thanks, Mr. Izzy. I'm gonna graduate now because you helped me pass this class." Like I was so grateful to get into something like that because, like I said, it brought me back into that military realm again, that supervisory realm, and one thing for the veterans, for folks listening and stuff is one is if you can try to get yourself into a program like that, into an organization or even volunteer services wise, where you are paying it forward, where you are able to give back, because you'll be surprised how much you feel like you are back in the service, even though you miss it so much. But it'll put you back into that role of where you're helping others, just like you will help your airmen.
Mm,
You're developing just like you would develop your airmen or your soldiers or seamen or whatever the case may be. But I definitely recommend to get involved in things like that, and it definitely it's a distraction. You're not just focusing on what's next. What am I gonna do? I'm fucking stuck or whatever the case may be. Plus it opens doors for you to network as well. Now I got contacts in Valencia College that if I ever needed a job, I could call and say, hey, is there any work available? Or if I need a character reference for another school or anything like that, I got that available to me because of me being involved in this program. So, but yeah, definitely adjustment with school, man. I had to learn real quick that these ain't your airmen. You can't chew them out. You know what I'm saying? Like you can, you gotta approach it in an alternative means. But I also learned to adjust. Get involved. like I said, I'm grateful for that program. It helped me to get involved, be back into the community, give back to the community, help these young students because not only were we doing the classwork, but I was also able to share life experiences, advices, any opinions, recommendations, whatever the case may be. So, but the other thing that I would say as far as adjustments after retirement is a support system. For me, I was fortunate that majority of my family lives here in Florida.
Mm.
Majority of my friends live here in Florida, and when I was in the service and I would take vacation to come visit my family here in Florida, I already was knowing people, making friends, and everything else. And it's crazy that now is like a lot of my retiree friends are all moving to Florida. Florida's that retirement state. It's like either Cali, Texas, or Florida.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
wants to go live. So, and it's good to know people because again, the network is there. So for employment basis, for character reference, for connections on maybe somebody can help you get this job or that job. But definitely try to invest yourself in a support program, man. I think that's critical. I think that's what really helps in making the adjustment. Because honestly, man, if you're doing this by yourself, especially if there's a lot of things that are happening negatively in your life, it's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be hard to overcome, especially if you have family involved and everything else. It's gonna be tough to try to do it alone. And in the Air Force, we didn't have that. We had a brotherhood. We had people that we could go to. We had people to rely on. There were times that most of the time I didn't even go to my own supervisor. I would go to somebody else that I knew would be better for me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful that I have that here, whether it's just to talk to my family if I need anything, or just to pick up a phone and call my friends that are an hour away maybe, and they'd be like, "Hey, come to the house, let's hang out, and we'll deal with it." So definitely have a support program, man. I think that's beneficial in anybody's transition. I know a lot of times, and I see it a lot, is a lot of these young soldiers, they will come out and they go back home. You know what I'm saying? Like they have no plan. They don't know what they want to do. So they go back home to mom and dad and they rely on mom and dad because they can't get a job or whatever the case may be. But I always try to tell my airmen, I even did it for myself, is if you know you're coming close to that window where it's going to close because number one, the military is not forever. You can't do it forever. You need to start planning for yourself. You really need to start thinking about what you want to do, where you want to go, where you want to call home, what's going to be work for you, and things like that. And there's a lot of resources out there that a lot of people are not aware of to be able to pick you up to make you stand out from the rest. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know about LinkedIn. I didn't know, until I got into like TAPS and everything else. But to me, TAPS is a joke. That transition program was garbage. You know what I'm saying? You can't afford, I don't expect any soldier, any airman, any Marine to go into TAPS for a week and be sitting there dealing with so much information and expect to leave that bitch saying, "Oh yeah, I know what to do."
Right, right.
Hell no. That's why if you talk to a lot of people that said they did TAPS, they did it like 3 or 4 times because that one week of just sitting there and listening to me, honestly, Mike, when I sat there, I was like, "This is not good." Like I'm not gaining anything from this.
Right,
You know what
right.
I'm saying? Everything that I did on my way out the door was me talking to people that were doing the same process.
Mm.
The people that retired before me, hey, what'd you do? How'd you start your disability claims? How'd you started doing this? How'd you started looking for work? What sites were you going to look for work? What would all the other means and resources that you were using? Because TAPS was a joke, man. And I know a lot of people that either separate or go through it is they probably could say the same thing that TAPS is not useful. It
Yeah.
really isn't. If they're gonna make it useful, they need to make it longer,
Oh
because
yeah.
there is no way to bombard me with so much information in a week and expect me to leave that place and be like, oh yeah, this shit was good, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Hey, no
Well, not only
way.
that though, but what I fucking find hilarious about taps though is when we're talking about your couple weeks out the door, you're not worried about anything else but PCSing, like getting your last EPRs, whatever awards done for your people, and you're trying to transition yourself, and then they're like, hey, we're going to put you in this program for a week or 2 weeks. You're going to dress in civilian clothes and you try to feel like it's like, but everybody that's teaching the class is either working for the federal government, so they're not really away, they're not civilian lives, or they're military people, or spouses. So there's no one sitting there saying like, hey man, I work at fucking McDonald's down the street. Like this shit is gonna fucking kick you in the balls. And that to me is my biggest complaint about it. I think it's a great program. The intent is good, but you know, all the training we've done, you can tell they don't have a priority in that because you're out the door. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I agree 100%. And unfortunately, that door is a revolving door, you know, because all of us that sat there and we know we're transitioning out, the Air Force already replaced us. You know what I'm saying? They already filled our position. They already filled the superintendent position. They already filled the NCOIC position. That shit's already done. So for the Air Force, it's like, thank you for your years, and I appreciate the time and effort that you put in for the mission and everything else. But this is all we could do for you.
Yeah.
You know, our hands are done. We're washing our hands with you because you're no longer a soldier no more. You're no longer an airman no more. You know, now it's time for you to go figure it out. You're right. The intent, I get it, but something needs to change.
Yeah.
Because a week of just sitting there, that's too much, especially when you have, let's say, an airman that is getting out in 4 years is sitting through that class. They're going to be like, what is this?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what is all this that you're telling me to do? What is this? What is VA? What is, this, that, how to get job, USA Jobs, LinkedIn? What is, they don't have no comprehension of any of that stuff because they don't really have that much life experience, But yet you're putting them into this class because it's a requirement. You have to do it before you can out process.
Right.
And it sucks that it gets treated that way because you would think it'll be reversed. You would think that those that are stepping out the door that gave you their committed time of years of service, you would probably want to take care of more of them because eventually someday those guys might be coming back to work for you. You know what I'm saying? Especially now, the Air Force has transitioned to a lot of civilian positions. Deployment managers are civilian positions. Command post chiefs are becoming civilian positions. Communications are becoming civilian positions. You know what I'm saying? But yet you're going to tell these people who are separate and retiring, hey, I see you later. But then when they need a job and everything else, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I'll take you back. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? To me, I feel like you would take care of them more as they're getting out the door just to make the transition easy for them. So that way they don't have a bad taste in their mouth to be like, this is how the fucking Air Force did me. Yeah. Like, I gave you 20 years and you just like, see you later. You know what I'm saying? So I think they just need to revise that and take that into consideration to try to make the transition a little bit, more appreciative for those that have done their time for you and sacrificed their livelihood for the Air Force and then make the transition easy for them. But yeah, I mean, go ahead, man.
Now to say, like, I mean, that's true. Like, there's nothing, and I was very bitter when I got out because just like you're talking, you find out really fast all the times you sacrificed, they don't care. And you know what I mean? And like, and I get it too. Like the new guy coming in, he's still in it 100%. So he don't care you're leaving. He just knows he got a new spot and it's a new EPR bullet, like it's a new stepping stone. But yeah, man, it's I think that is one of the biggest heartbreaks. And like I said, for me personally, I still haven't gotten over it. So for you being out and doing that, when you decided, like, did you decide to retire or was it something that was forced upon you?
So for me, by the time I already had in my mindset that I was going to do 20 and out. Once I hit my 10-year mark, I was like, I'm in it for the long haul. There was no changing that. Well, I take that back. When I was stationed in Turkey, I had a chief, an E9. Oh man, I'm a big proponent of people make the place, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could be out of all of my duty stations I've been to, I enjoyed them all because of the people that I met there, the friendships I created there, some of the people that I worked with, and everything else. To me, I'm a big proponent of the people make the place. Everybody says, oh, you make of, whatever place you go to is what you make of it. Yeah, in a sense that is true, but it's also the people that are involved in it that also make the place. So at the time, I had a great team. Like the people that I work with, as far as who were the command post controllers, were great. They were good people. Here comes this E8 who PCS from Oklahoma, and he made chief there. He became an E9. And you know, in the command post world, for those that are not familiar, we're 24/7 operations. You can't sleep. There is no like, you know, you have to be on alert because of the classified stuff we deal with. Where we got to be on our toes all the time.
And have binders for days.
And have binders for days. And in Turkey, was one of those locations because of the assets that we had there. We had to be on point. You know, the classified side of the house of command and control was always nonstop. So you have what they call two-person control. You and another controller. You had to be on your game to know step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and so on and so forth. So I made senior controller at the time, and they put me to work shift with this chief. It's a Tuesday day shift. Our day shift were from like 6:45 a.m. to 6:45 p.m. It's around noontime, and it's quiet, and I look over, and the chief has his feet on the console, and he's sleeping. He's sleeping. Here comes my command post chief, who's a lieutenant colonel, walks in, sees him, and walks out. Now, if that was me, I would have been done. If that was me that was sleeping on console, that lieutenant colonel would have reamed my ass. He would have been looking for ways for me to get separated. You know what I'm saying? And here's this chief, because he's a chief, it's okay for him to sleep. That shit irked me. And then he comes out and he says, man, I didn't make chief to be working 12-hour shifts. I said, you gotta be kidding me. I said, first of all, I've said, number one, you're a certified controller. That's your role. That's your duty title. It doesn't matter that you're E9. The fact is that you're a certified controller, just like all of us. So you have to work shifts. Oh, I didn't make chief to work shifts. I shouldn't be working 12s. And I'm saying to myself, man, thank God there's no young airman here to hear that coming from E9's mouth. You know what I'm saying? But slowly, Turkey had me to the point where I was saying to myself, if this is the leadership of the Air Force now, I'm done. Like, I really wasn't wanting to continue on because I was like, I can't deal with this. Every day was a gripe and a complaint that why is he a chief and he's doing this. So we would have to take closed book tests for the command post where headquarters will come and inspect us. And if you failed that closed book test, you got decertified. Tell me why the lieutenant colonel put the chief on leave so he doesn't take the chance of failing. Dude, I was seeing all this and I was like, how is this happening? You know, I came from Vegas where Vegas was great. You know what I'm saying? I had good leadership, the camaraderie, the unity, and everything else. And I come to fucking Turkey and I'm dealing with a lieutenant colonel covering up for E9 so he doesn't fail because he's an E9 and an E9 sleeping on shift. Whereas if A1C senior airman or myself, staff sergeant, would have been caught sleeping, we would have been fucked. I was like, what is going on right now? Like, this Air Force I ain't living, you know? I was close, man. I was close to saying, fuck it, I'm done. This was like 11 years. I was like, I can't deal with this shit because if this is how it's going to be, if I go to my next base or so on, and I think I still had, this was a 15-month short tour, and I was only 4 months into it. And I'm seeing this. And I'm like, I got to pull out 11 more months of this shit? Crazy. I don't think I could do it. But I got an assignment to Honduras, and I was like, I'm good, let's go. But yeah, once I hit my 10 years, man, the next I knew I was in it for the long haul. But I sort of, at my 16-year mark, I started planning everything out for myself. I started saying, okay, I'm getting close to retirement. I'm getting close to that point where I need to get out the door. Israel, you need to start doing you. So I started getting my resumes ready. You know, I started doing the LinkedIn. I started, you know, just doing whatever I could to start enhancing my background, my resume, and everything else. So when I transition out, I'm ready to go. But I was looking at where I want to live. Like I told you, I was already thinking about going overseas because I already knew friends there. I already had a plan to go settle overseas with them, live with them until I get on my feet. like I already had things in motion from, to prepare for myself for the transition. And then once I got to Oklahoma after Honduras, I put it for base of preference. I've never done a base of preference before. So base of preference is, you get to pick an installation where you want to go to based off your choice. So because I did 2 back-to-back short tours, the Air Force said, we got you where you want to go. So I put Jersey. And behold, I got it. And that made it even easier for me to transition out because Florida was right down the block. It's not like I had to fly from Hawaii to go to try to get to Florida,
Right.
So even during my time in Jersey, I got put into a contingency wing where now I'm doing humanitarian aid, natural disaster reliefs, and everything. Now I'm helping people. I was a deployment man. I was taken out of my element of command post, and I was put as a deployment manager. But I was helping teams go out. We did Hurricane Maria, Puerto Rico support. We were sending people to Florida. Like you saw your decisions and actions being rewarded because of what they were doing. The resources that you were providing for these people. Plus, in being in that unit, it gave me more skills. It buffed up my resume again because now I got humanitarian aid, natural disaster relief under my belt. I coordinated the movement of all these resources, these pallets, these people, and everything else. Now I'm being recognized by colonels. I'm getting coined here and there. Now all of a sudden I have colonel friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, Izzy, whatever you need, you let us know. You know what I'm saying? Now I went into my LinkedIn and I'm connecting with these colonels, and now that enhances my background even more because
Right.
I got these top wigs that could vouch for me. That give me character references. Dude, I'm probably the only E6 that you will ever meet that actually got retired by a 2-star general. Just because that general was my friend. You know what I'm saying? Because I did good things for him when I was deployed on one of my deployments. He was my commander, and Diego Garcia. But for me, it was like, I already told myself I'm done. After 20 years, I'm done. I looked in the mirror and I said, Izzy, you're done? And Izzy said, we're done, man. We did everything we wanted to set out to do. We're right now, even in the last 2 years that I was in Jersey, I was on the high horse. I was sort of the go-to guy. I was the guy that the colonels would call and be like, hey, Sergeant Devalle there, can we talk to him? I was on the high pedestal. And that's how I wanted to end it. I wanted to end it, my career, riding the white horse out, man. Just leave it on a high note. So my boss at the time comes up to me and she goes, oh, did you know that you could do 2 more years waiver? You could go over your high-year tenure if you signed this waiver. I was like, you fucking crazy. Because the thing is, I didn't know what those 2 years would have brought. Next thing you know, I'm doing bad. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, I'm going down here. Now Izzy, they just want him out. They don't care that he's retired. They just want Izzy out. And I was like, nope. I was like, we're good. I'm gonna put on this high horse, and I did. So it wasn't forced upon me. It was my decision. I'm thankful for it.
So even though you made the decision, after you made the decision, and then you're going through these 7 months, was those 7 months part of kind of like a heartbreak or kind of sadness that it was over with?
A little bit was, again, it wasn't so much. I loved my job. I loved command posts. I love what we did and everything else because I felt like I was serving a purpose. And all the decisions that I made as the senior controller, all the actions that we took and everything, like we saved lives. You know what I'm saying? Whenever aircrafts call in flight emergency, ground emergencies, it was up to me and the command post to make sure that we got the people there on time to be able to make sure that everything was okay. We had so many suicide notifications. Without us making the phone calls to coordinate the actions for that, who knows what could have happened? You know what I'm saying? We have so many sexual assault notifications. And without the command post doing their piece, who knows if that person would have been having the care that they needed? You know what I'm saying? So for me, I love that. I love being the decision maker. I love being able to see the reward for the after the fact situations and everything else. So when I got out, like honestly, that the work and the people is what I miss the most because I made so many friendships. I mean, honestly, I still keep in touch with people from 1998 that I first met in Germany, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I still keep in touch with them.
For me, my philosophy was anytime I met people and I created a friendship or bond with them, I knew you for the rest of your life. I wasn't one of those that it was just, oh, we just knew each other in Oklahoma and that was it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at you and I. Yeah, we met in Honduras, but here we are.
Yeah.
Several years later, still able to communicate and everything. So that was my philosophy was all the time, and that's really what I missed the most was the people, man. Like
Right.
the last 2 years in Jersey, I had such a great group of deployment managers that we did everything together. Like we were literally a family. And I tell you how close we were. And I don't know if you could probably share the same. So I'm the lead deployment manager. I'm in charge of the shop. Even though I got a superintendent and everything else, but I'm like the NTOIC of the unit deployment management office, right? On the weekends, we would have to be on standby for in case, when hurricane season happened in Florida or if something happened with earthquakes or whatever the case may be, we always had to be on standby. I will always take the phone because I'm the lead deployment manager. So something popped off to where I needed to come back to work. So we got a tasking to where we had to get a bunch of soldiers together, airmen together. We had to create a team and we had to make sure their deployment folders were good, their training was good, and everything else. So I send out a text to my deployment managers and I say, hey guys, don't worry about it, but I'm going into the office. We just got a tasking. I'll take care of it. But if anybody asks, this is the situation, what's going on? I go into the office, dude. It's only like a four-man team, easy stuff. Look through their folders, review because we always make sure their folders were up to date. Tell me why, as I'm sitting there, the door into my office is opening with the rest of my deployment managers. They didn't have to come in, you know what I'm saying? But they saw it as if you're doing it, we're doing it. There is no just one person in this. There is not just because your duty title is the lead deployment manager that you have to deal with the work yourself. No, we're a team. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I miss. The work and the people is really
Yeah.
what I felt heartbroken about because I didn't have that no more. I would sit here in my house watching TV and saying to myself, man, I wonder what so and so is doing right now. Or I wonder what this person is dealing with right now. Or wonder what is going on over here since I left. You know what I'm saying? I really missed that camaraderie, that unity to where I don't know, I sat at home and I was like, what's next?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what purpose am I serving now? I'm not a tech sergeant no more. I'm not a supervisor no more. I'm not in charge of any programs. You know what I'm saying? The colonels are now calling somebody else to answer their
Yep.
questions. I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I'm
Y-
saying? Like, it was, I don't know. It was tough at the beginning, but at the same time, it was like I had to remind myself that, dude, you did your time. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, you have to let it go some eventually, and I don't mean let it go like forget about it, but I had to break away from knowing that I can't I can't be that person no more. And
Yeah.
I had to learn to adjust to that because what the military Izzy was is not what civilian Izzy is now. You know what I'm saying? And I had to sort of break away from that person because it was like, now don't get me wrong, I still keep in touch with my friends. I ask them how they're doing, if they need any NCO advice or any supervisory advice. Like
Yeah.
I'm still there with them, and I'm grateful that some of them actually have do still call me for advice, and I feel good because I'm like, all right, I'm still in the mix.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm still involved, helping my airmen out and everything else, and I'm grateful too that in one aspect, my ultimate goal, honestly, as a leader and as a supervisor, I always wanted to reach that title of mentor. For me, it saddens me today that there's a lot of young folks that they don't have that. They don't
Mm.
have somebody that they could call upon at any moment and be like, "Hey, I need your help," or "Hey, can I get your advice?" They don't have those mentors anymore, and I'm grateful that I have few friends that I consider mentors, but I set out to make myself when I made NCO and when I became a supervisor leader that I wanted to be that for the people. I wanted to be that person that they could rely on anytime. It didn't matter,
Mm.
and I'm grateful that I have. I have friends that actually say that I'm that to them, And unto this day, I still get the calls like, "Hey, man, I got this problem with this airman. What do you think?" And I'm grateful for that, man. That I was able to, at least, even though I was separating, I was able to leave an impression. I was able
Yeah.
to leave a footnote and to know that you can still count on me, you can still rely on me, and everything else. Besides just trying to deal with it yourself, you
Right.
know.
I know for me, I actually learned leadership when I got out because I was the complete opposite NCO, man. I was, and I hate to say it, it sucks that I have to say this though. I was a shitty supervisor because I honestly didn't give a flying fuck about the people. I cared about the mission. And so for me, it was always work, 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 work. And if you couldn't do the job no more, then I'm done with you. I needed the work to get done. And I mean, it sucks because there's some people that are, they became NCOs and I became that person that they had to use as an example of what they didn't like. And some of them don't talk to me now because, and I get it. And the reason why is actually when I was a Kadena and I was working as a civilian then. And so one of my old troops came back and he's like, "You're different." And it's like, yeah, man, you have to learn the things I did was not good. That was not good at all, and it took me actually learning leadership and not assuming leadership. I actually had to, use that as a skill set. And, I told him, I was like, for me, the founding thing for me on leadership is legit giving a fuck. And I said it so aggressive that way because it has to be that simple for me. And it's night and day what I had to learn because I thought, I'm in charge, or that's how I was taught. Foot to ass. If you don't act right, we put a foot in your ass and you act right. But what I later found out was that's for me. I respond very well to that type of leadership. And what I had to realize was, the cookie cutter approach is not the right way to do business. There's some people, if you put in like what you're talking about, they can do amazing things because they have that right leadership. But the moment you do foot to ass them, they shut down and they never access that real potential.
Yeah, I mean, I've had leadership that I used to call like pingers. They will ping at every little situation, or they micromanage and everything else. But one thing I had to learn, and I became a staff sergeant early. I think I made staff like in 3, 4 years. So I was a young NCO when I first started out, and I didn't really know how to lead because to me, I feel like that comes with experience. You
Mm,
need to have those trial and errors in order for you to grow and mature. And at the time when I made staff, I was 21, 22. So I was still thinking about going out, drinking, clubbing, and everything else. Like, yeah, I took care of my airmen because that's what the paperwork told me to do. You know what
right.
I'm saying? I made sure I dotted my I's and crossed my T's, but I didn't know any better. And again, I think the salvation for me was because I had that experience that I was able to go to those people and talk about it. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? A lot of times, like, people in your situation where their leadership bro is fucking boots to asses, they don't. I feel like some of them don't have that outside person to be able to talk to. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Like, to be able to sit you down and say, "Hey, man, the way you're doing things, maybe you should take a different approach. Maybe you should try doing this. Maybe you should try doing that."
yeah.
Unfortunately, some people don't have that outside perspective to give them, to let them know, "Hey, these are the wrongs and rights that you're doing." I
Yeah.
was fortunate that I did. I was fortunate throughout my career. I've had people watching over me all the time, taking care of me, basically giving me advice, telling me if I fuck up, I fuck up,
Mm,
being honest with me, that real talk and everything else. I'll give you an example. I was stationed in Vegas back in 2000, from 2005 to 2008. All right. Nellis Air Force Base in Vegas. Everybody knows Vegas Sin City. That place, you go there, it's for you to fucking party hard, spend money, gamble, do whatever you're gonna do. At the time, I was the NTOIC of training. My superintendent at the time was one of my good friends who I met back when I was in California, back from like 2000 to 2005. I actually trained him in command post duties because he cross trained from medical into command post. So come full circle, he's now my superintendent. We're mad cool and everything else, but I knew how to differentiate those boundaries.
mm,
Off duty is off duty, on duty is on duty. You know what I'm saying? Like, On duty, I'm not calling you David. I'm calling you, Sergeant so and so and so and
Right.
so forth. Off duty is different. Like if we're around other workers, I just keep it sir. I won't even say David. You know what I'm saying? But I knew how to separate those boundaries. So there was one incident. I went out. I was stupid. I had too much to drink, and I got popped for DUI. So I got arrested for 72 hours. My supervisor came, picked me up out of the holding cell, and everything else. So I thought I was done. I thought this is it. I'm fucking. It's over for me. I fucking was stupid. I did a stupid thing and everything else. I wasn't thinking or whatnot. And let me tell you, my superintendent, not only because he was my friend, but because he knew the type of NCO I was, the work ethic I had, how I was as a training manager, how I was with the other airmen, the other controllers, and everything else. This dude fought for me. This guy went to bat with leadership and said, we're not kicking him out. We need to give him another chance. Because of A, B, and C, like this guy was able to put out my records and say, this is why we need to keep him in the Air Force. This is why he will still be an asset to the Air Force. And this is why he still has the potential to be something more in the Air Force. And let me tell you, I got, driving privileges revoked. I didn't lose a stripe or anything like that. I almost lost my assignment to Turkey, but the commander still signed me off. Because being on PRP, that personal reliability part, you need to be mentally there and everything else. So they could have easily saw as this DUI as a trauma or anything like that, where I couldn't be capable of handling what was going on in Turkey. But this guy went to bat for me, man. And I changed my ways from there on out, meaning that I don't drink or drive. But I was like, the fact that he took the time to fight for me. In the military, no matter what branch you're in, you could be the fucking superstar. But that one mistake you make, to me, I feel like you're done. There's a target on your back from there on out. You know what I'm saying? Like none of the accolades would match up to that one error you make. And the fact that mine was a DUI was really bad. Really, really bad. But at the same token, he was able to show that, yeah, even though he made this mistake, his accolades, who he is as a person, his character and everything else speaks out more than just that mistake. And I mean, it was to a point when I was sitting in the chief's office, the group chief's office, he was telling me, give me your driver's license. I'm fearing for my child because I know there's people like you on the road that might kill them. And I was sitting there like, yo, he made me feel like shit. And I'm sitting there like, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy is really telling me that I'm going to kill his kids, that I'm a presence that I shouldn't be on the road because I might be a murderer or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, and my superintendent sitting there, and first they told the chief, you can't take his license, that's illegal. You can't do that. But at the same time, once I stepped outside after he chewed my ass, my superintendent would, I don't know what he said. I wish I was in the room, but I wasn't. But the thing I know is like, this is all that's gonna happen to you. But the main concern was, am I staying in the Air Force?
Right.
And that was, to me, that was what really, really got me, because I didn't want to go home as an embarrassment. I didn't want to go home and be telling people, oh, I got kicked out because I was fucking drinking and driving like an idiot. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I was blessed, man, that he came out and did that for me. But again, he did it because of who I was. You know what I'm saying? Like the NCO I was trying to be and everything else. But I was fortunate that I had people like that to be able to go to. Right. Unfortunately, nowadays, a lot of people who get into leadership, bro, they don't have that. They don't have those mentors. They don't have those outside perceptions that they could try to call on or latch on to be like, hey, is this right? Am I doing this right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. For you to try to figure out on your own how it is, that's tough, man. Because who says who's a right leader?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Leadership is not a thing that's written in books, even though there's many books about leadership, but it's all from people's opinions or their perspective on how leaders should be.
Right.
But who's to say who's the right leader? Was that E9 who was sleeping on console, who was telling me, oh, I shouldn't be working 12 because I'm a chief? Is that a right leader? Or is the right leader my superintendent who fought for me because I got a DUI and he knew, don't get
Yeah.
rid of this control? You know what I'm saying? So I'm a big person in where I don't believe there's bad supervisors. I just believe that there are those supervisors that teach you how not to be like them.
Yeah.
So if you were my supervisor and you were always boots to asses, and I'm your troop and I don't care for that, I'm not gonna look at you and be like, damn, what a fucking douchebag this guy is. I'm gonna look at it and say, okay, wait, when I become a sergeant or I become a tech or master, I can't be like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing how his audience is reacting negatively to
Right.
it. You know what I'm saying? So I know I'm gonna take that, put it into my leadership toolkit, and say to myself, I know when I get in that position, I'm not gonna be like that guy.
Yeah, like so we met. So I deployed, and you were there in 2010, right? So after I left Honduras, I came back, and I was in Japan, and so I'm the senior airman, and there's an E5, and there's an E7, and E8. Well, the E5, my boss, deploys, I think to Kyrgyzstan, and then the E7 deploys to Iraq. So now there's the E8, who's a superintendent, and me. Now the buck stops at me. So I'm the E4, barely brand new.
Right.
And then when we're in Honduras, I'm a little brother. Everyone's helping me out. I'm just, hey, take out the trash, or I still show that plaque, by the way, because it always has to represent like the relationship, right? I'm little brother, in that sense. And so that happens. Well, in 2000, and so I become a golden boy in that sense because I'm an E4 taking care of a shop at a heavy operational base, and I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing that. In 2011, my mom gets sick. I forgot what the disease was, like lost her memory, can't walk, can't do all this shit. I'm in Japan. My best friend dies in a motorcycle accident. And what I do is drink. I just start drinking nonstop. And because I had such a good reputation, no one did anything to me. So I don't show up to PT no more. I can't even show up. I literally tried for a year and a half to show up on time to work and could not do that because I was just so fucked up. And I saw it the other way. They let me do this, but because of my reputation, in my opinion, I don't know. In my opinion, it was so good that they left me alone that I was begging for help. Like, yo, man, I need fucking help right now because I am fucking up on a major level. I'm drinking. It's 2:00 and it's a Tuesday night. I know I got PT in the morning and I'm still drinking till like 3:30 in the morning, trying to wake up and go to PT. And then they're saying, I'd rather get in trouble for not showing up because I'm going to pop. And I don't even have the clear mindset to sit there and say, maybe you shouldn't fucking drink. I'm just trying to drink away pain because that's all I know how to do at that moment. And so, I had it the other way where it's like nobody fought for me in that sense. I mean, I've had other situations where, go to bat for me. I did lose my license in Japan because they can take your license, by the way, but since they give you a little card. And I had someone fight for me, which I still talk to this day. But at that time, in 2011, and that I'm an NCO now. So it's like probably 2012 or whatever. And so I'm an NCO and I'm taking care of work and work's still getting done, but I'm getting maybe 2 hours of sleep a night. I'm living off of Red Bulls. I'm divorced at the time. So I was going through a divorce, mother's sick, my best friend died, and I'm drinking nonstop. You know what I mean? It's like I'm in a downward spiral. And because people left me alone, I mean, that's probably why I got out honorable. You know what I mean? Because it's either it was going to be a DUI or, failure of duty or whatever bullshit there was because I was fucking up at a major level, but work was still getting done. So nobody really, no one intervened.
Right.
No one sit there and asked me like, are you okay? Like, are you fucking, I mean, that's, how like he talked about starting off with, how are you doing? I probably would have told him I'm fine, but I mean, fuck, man, like, I don't know, but I know internally I was begging for help. Like, please, man, I'm fucking going crazy here and I'm going to take down my career because I don't know how to stop this shit. And all I'm doing is drinking. And I'm working 3 jobs, so I'm working military, get off of that, go to Macaroni Grill, and then go and be a bouncer. And I'm not sleeping. I'm drinking. And then, it's one of the ones where it's like, I'm glad I'm still in, that when I look at that honorable, I'm like, man, that honorable comes with like a lot of like stuff that got really swept under the rug because people just didn't really give a fuck about what I was doing after work,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think honestly that it's a two-way street, man. Communication needs to go both ways. like you said, you were keeping it internally, and if they would ask you how you were doing, you would have said I was good, just to sort of cover yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And then you have the leadership people that they probably do see it, but they just don't want to deal with it.
Right.
They don't want to get involved or deal with what comes with having to write you up, having to reprimand, having to do the paperwork for it. So they figure just let it be. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's the way this person's going to deal with it, then so be it. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in the military, even unto this day, that do that. You know what I'm saying? Like they just put the blinders on and don't even want to focus on that. That's why a lot of times and I told you this, is there were times where I wouldn't even go, I couldn't talk to my supervisor because my supervisor didn't know me. You know what I'm saying? They didn't even try to take the time to know who I was, to find out anything about me, see how I was doing. The only time me and my supervisors would talk was during the feedback time. You know what I'm saying? Because that was mandatory. We needed to do that. You know what I'm saying? So any personal issues or demons that I was dealing with, I had to go outside. I had to talk to my boy V because, you know, he would understand. You know what I'm saying? But I had to look for that. I couldn't just be internally inside my house trying to deal with everything that's going on. I couldn't do it because I knew eventually I was going to explode. Right. I knew eventually my coping mechanisms were going to be, like you said, drinking, or probably it could have been much worse. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it takes a two-way communication for me. I feel like if I see it, me personally, I'm going to approach it, because that's how the old school supervisors that I had back in 98, that's how they would treat me. You know what I'm saying? If they saw me quiet on console because they know I'm like a talker, something's wrong with Izzy. You know what I'm saying? Little things like that, minuscule shit like that, they would be like, okay, Izzy, what's the matter? What's wrong? Nowadays, if you're a talker, you're not talking in console, we're saying to us, oh, thank God, John's not talking today. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to hear his fucking mouth. And that's wrong, man. You know, a lot of these new supervisors coming up, a lot of these new leaders coming up, one, to me, I feel like they're getting promoted way too early. So they don't have no fucking experience to come with their background. So when they see that John isn't talking at work, they don't question it. You know what I'm saying? But then at the same time, if something's bothering John for him not talking to work, he needs to speak up. Whether it's to your supervisor or it's to your fucking dorm mate, you need to say something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's one thing for the listeners, the veterans that are listening, everybody else, is you got to talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't hold my tongue. If I feel like something's bothering me, I'm gonna express it. Whether it's to my family or to my boys, to you, anybody that I could call to say, hey, that I know is willing to pick up the phone and listen, then I'm gonna fucking do it, man. Because what am I gonna gain from doing it by myself? Because all I'm doing is just giving myself things that I want to hear. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking in the mirror, the mirror's looking at me like, yeah, man, just have another shot. Just have another drink. Or go out, dude. Go out. Go fucking burn it off, man. You know what I'm saying? You just need to have some drinks at the bar. Go call up your boy and get some fucking drinks. Get hammered. You know what I'm saying? Of course my reflection is going to tell me that, because that's what I want to hear. But I bet you if I called you, V, or somebody else to be like, yo, man, this is what I got, you're going to be like, okay, man, be careful, do this, do that. You ain't going to tell me, dude, go get fucking wasted. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, when the DUI happened to me, my leadership turned their fucking backs. Nobody gave a fuck about Izzy besides my superintendent and my boys from work. My controllers from work, my little shop at work cared about me. They wanted to make sure I was doing better. You know what is that you can't drive to work no more? So I'm living in an apartment off base. I'm now having to rely on my controllers to come pick me up that I'm working with, out of their way to give me a ride so I could make it to work on time. Dude, I felt so shitty, but they did that for me. You think Colonel so-and-so who just chewed my ass was going to give me rides to work? Or try to find a way to get me rides to work? Hell no. Did my first sergeant care? Hell no. They all looked at it like, you fucked up, deal with it, bro. Right. But again, I had to speak up to say, hey, guys, I need help. Can you guys help me? You know what I'm saying? But I knew who to go to for that. And unfortunately, again, it has to come two ways, because that first sergeant, that colonel, that chief, they weren't going to ask me how you doing today. I think whenever I walked by that chief, when he would come into the command post for the commander's staff meeting, dirty looks that motherfucker gave me because I was a fucker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though I will still be tactful. Hey, Chief, how's it going, Chief? This and that. Just keep on walking. Got it. I could
Yeah.
have let that shit fuck me and be like, you know what, fuck him, this and that. But no, I'm not gonna waste my time on that. It was a mistake. It is what it is. But again, it's a two-way communication for me, and you have to speak up. You have to say something. I can't see how anybody could hold that in. Like when I listen to your story, I can't see how you were able to hold all that stuff inside of you and
Mm.
just let it sort of explode to
Oh yeah.
where you ran into mad walls, mad barriers at times, and for what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
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 it's
so, well, speaking on that, I like to bring it to the present time. Do you feel like what? So, are you currently doing that program still?
which program?
That CARES
Oh
program you were
no,
talking
no,
about?
the care program. No, I stopped because when I transferred over to a new college, the
Okay.
workload was it was just getting too overwhelming for me.
So is
So
that something that you're looking at doing? Like, what I mean? Do you think that is something that is your calling?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's funny that you say that because people have told me like they could see me being a teacher. They could because I don't know. For me, I just felt like I see the young and I always want to try to make them better if I can. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? And I do that because I had it done for me. I
Right.
had these older rank supervisors looking out for me, so why not do that for those? For others. You know what I'm saying? And even though they were just students, but I could relate to, the what they were going through because I was a student myself,
Yeah.
so the bombardment of exams, the stresses. Oh my God, am I gonna pass this test? Or oh my God, I don't like the way this professor is teaching this course. For me, it was like I was able to relate to that because I had that going on with me as well. But then I said to myself, I can help you with this because I'm coming with experience. I'm coming with life lessons that even though it's not related, my life lessons don't really deal with all involving school, but you can take it as you want it to where it still can help dealing with what you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I dealt with stress. You were dealing with stress. I dealt with stress, and I dealt with stress in A, B, C. Even though it wasn't school related, but I dealt with stress
Right.
in this way. So I was able to reciprocate that to them, and they appreciated that. You don't know how many of these students would look at me and just say, "Thank you for talking to me. Thank
Mm.
you for listening." You know what I'm saying? And on to this day, the program director, I still keep in touch with him. And who knows? Maybe if after I graduate this year and everything else, who knows? Maybe I might be like, hey man, can I come back
Yeah.
as a full time, and help you out with that because these kids are impressionable, man, and
Oh yeah.
they're easily molded and everything else. And it's like when stress hits for them, it's like it's the end of the world. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well,
you don't even know.
well, that's a conversation my wife and I have. Like my 7 year old, my youngest, which you met, and I was telling my wife about how you were able to entertain her. So that speaks to the child in you. Um,
Thanks.
but no, I mean, but it's one of those things where, we talk about. I'm like, for her, she's 7 years old. So if she doesn't get a toy, that is her whole world. And it's hard to relate, especially since, you coming from a different background, you're 1998. So you are a different generation for sure. But also you're in a different generation of the military where it wasn't, hey man, how are you doing today? Right. It's like the mission came first and you will leave and it's still kind of like that too. Like you will leave and that's all you. So going forward with that, man, it's one of the ones where I think that is a big part of the veteran issue right now is, it, and because you said it earlier too as well. And I feel the same way. Your job told you where you fit in. You do this and this. And it's like, it didn't matter who you were, because I was told if you don't do this paperwork right, this means this and that. And this means planes can't meet the, bombs on target. And it's like, hey, you're like, that's kind of bullshit. But it gets so hit in your head where you're like, if I don't do these things right, you're right. This doesn't get done, etc. And so what I see with veterans now is that point. They have nothing else to go from because you're in school for what? You know what I mean? You have to kind of figure out yourself and, and as you're seeing yourself, you're nearing towards the end. And then it's like, what's next? You have a task at hand. Well, what's the next task? And so when I hear you talk about it and see that light in your eyes when it's actually talking about helping people, And that's the crazy part. It's just helping kids who need help. It has nothing to do with are they rich, are they poor, or any of that stuff. It's just because you have all this experience. And what do you do with it? You know what I mean? Like, do you waste it? And do you just sit there and kind of sit in a rocking chair and let the world burn? Or do you try to make it a better place? Right. So, you talking about being a teacher. I mean, is that something that, even though you have this degree and let's say you can go to FEMA and do all these great things because you are retired and you do get money, is that something where you've looked at and said, the money's not the issue. I want fulfillment in life?
Yeah, I've always been key on what's my purpose. Like if what I'm gonna do is what's the purpose that it's gonna serve. Is there a reward that comes from it? And when I mean a reward, I don't mean monetary. I mean like satisfaction from people. Them like I told you. I got emails from the students telling me thank you so much for your help. That's my reward. You know what I'm saying? To see that they passed the class, that they passed the course, and now they're able to go and graduate. They're able to go and walk the stage because of the impact I made on helping them get through this course. And for me, that's how I always try to engage with anything that I try to do. Is what's my purpose in this? Is there going to be a reward from it? For me, the reason why I always wanted to do like emergency management, besides the fact that I did in the Air Force, was because the reward from it. You know what is that you're helping countries, you're helping states, you're helping these citizens that don't have shit or that are suffering from these earthquakes, these tsunamis, whatever the case would be, and it's your impact, your actions, your purpose that you are filling in that position is helping these people out. You know what I'm saying? So if I can do teaching to where I can help these students and help them develop to be better individuals and better persons on themselves, why not take that into like a grander stage, like you said in FEMA, and be able to do that with the world? You know what I'm saying? And that was my mindset. It was like I wanted to be FEMA because I wanted to continue being able to help those that need it, not just in the United States, but I wanted to do it worldwide. That's why another reason was why I wanted to go live overseas, because I wanted to do something different, but try to help the world. Like United States, we're great. I feel like the United States is covered, is taken care of, and everything else. But if you look at the other governments of these other countries and everything else, man, they got it tough. When COVID hit, man, like their reaction was more stringent, more strict than the way the United States was dealing with. Like people were losing jobs left and right, even though we were losing jobs, but they were losing jobs. Like, I don't even know if they get unemployment. I don't even know how they're getting money to make ends meet. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if I could play a role being in an organization that is willing to help them out and be able to provide that relief, that's what I want to do. And I'm grateful that the Air Force has given me that experience, to be able to put it into that direction. Right. But again, that's me already thinking what I want to do with myself. A lot of problems now that these vets face is that they don't have that. They don't have that plan going forward. And sometimes they rely on the VA and everything else, and they're not getting that answer that they need. They're not getting the assistance that they need. Right. And it sucks, man. Because like I had friends that got out and, with the disability and everything else with the VA. I have friends that got out that they didn't even know what to do. They didn't even know where to start. They didn't even know how to do anything until I was able to sit down with them and walk through them step by step on what I did, so that way they could get on the same level with me and be able to get the benefits that they deserve. You know what I'm saying? How are you going to do 20, 30 years and you're going to come out and the VA is going to look at you and be like, okay, it is what it is. And then I come to your office to say, help me. And you're going to look at me and say, well, how do you want me to help you? Yeah. Are you kidding me? You know what I'm saying?
Like I worked at the VA, right? And so I understand, like the way I look at it and the way I explain it to people too, like, civilians, I look at them and say, I don't think when they started the war, they expected this many people to survive. It's hard, man. It's rough. You're still dealing with people from fucking Vietnam and Korean War, and you're trying to deal with these guys that were Desert Storm, fucking Iraq, 9/11. It sucks, because so I was doing IT there for the VA, there would be some times where I wouldn't even know the new software that came out because the VA didn't tell it. Like the own IT departments wouldn't tell you. It's such a big operation. Nothing talks to each other, and the local VA that we have here, they're very nice people, man. Like I've helped them with their computers. They care, but sometimes, man, it's just like the system doesn't allow. And also too, they're fucking bombarded, man. Like I said, I don't think they were ready to help this many people. And that sucks. When people are like, are you, because people complain about the VA, and I had to tell them, like, I don't think they were ready to help this many people, because you're still dealing with Vietnam fuckers. Like, you know what I mean? Like those guys have some real problems with them. So the Korean War vets. And then now you got a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old. Shit, I got out at 27 and got disability for the rest of my fucking life. Like, how do you help me? Like, and when you go to it, and the sad part too is, I think also the sad part is a lot of people that they see vets every day. So that's their new customer. So when a vet comes in and say, I have this problem, they're like, well, I heard it from fucking Johnny over here and he got these problems. They get kind of accustomed to the level of hurt that we're dealing with. And so it's not, unique anymore. Now it's like, I heard that shit last week. And it's unfortunate because it's all you deal with. And then, I think they care, but also the thing that I don't think no one talks about is the fucking federal government doesn't pay. Like in Japan, I'm making, money to come over here and be a GS-11. I took over a $20,000 hit on pay. And then I'm looking at the door like, no, man, like you're paying me for this. Like I can make so much more money on the outside doing IT. You're not going to get the best quality people. And that's just the reality of shit, that you can't really do it. And then, like I said, you have all these things on top of it. And then some of these doctors, I think it's in general, but these doctors have been studying medicine for 30 years. Well, we got fucking burn pits. Like I went there and was like, hey, man, I got like, I'm missing, like I actually missing the melanin in my skin. I was like, I'm thinking it's from burn pits. And I've been kind of bounced around. And finally, they kind of put it on my disability that, yes, my vertigo is from burn pits. But we don't even know what the fuck burn pits are going to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how are you going to treat that? And then also, we're in fucking Honduras. The mold that we had to probably be around was horrendous. Especially the hooch you lived in. Like, that shit was just like legit wood. Yeah. We don't really know the long-term effects. And it's like, that's the frustrating part about, and I think that's why the DOD does it the way they do. Like, all right, military will take care of you. VA takes care of you after you're done. And so they kind of have that separation. And they just, I don't, man, it's hard, man. I don't know how you can really fix it.
Yeah, and I agree, man. And I think the most difficult part is that, so right now I'm having an appeal with the VA right now. So I'm waiting for a judge to review my case. But I think the difficult part is, one, and I expressed this to them, one, when you're in the service, you going to the hospital was a big no-no.
Right.
It was a career killer.
Like badge of honor to have a small medical record.
If I went into mental health, career killer. If I told the doctor, hey, I'm having this issue because of this and that, and that's going to prevent me from deploying or anything else or not being able to do the mission, career killer. You know what I'm saying? So now you have these soldiers that are active duty reserve guard in the military, sacrificing their lives, sucking up the pain that they're going through just because they don't want it to be on their records that they're hurting, because there's the chance that they're going to get medically boarded, and they're going to lose out their fucking retirement, their years of service, and everything else. Yeah. So now they get out, and we're hurting like motherfuckers. Our bodies is wear and tear. We're broken. So you're telling us that our liaison for when we get out is to go to the VA, and when we go to the VA, you're now telling me I can't do nothing for you? Who the fuck do we turn to then?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, who am I supposed to look to? When I was in the federal government, you told me don't do it because my career is done. Now that I'm out and I'm still going towards the VA, the federal government, you tell me you can't help me? Or it's my big thing now, it's not service connected.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got 2 rotator cuff tears. All of this happened while I'm in the military, but you're telling me it's not service connected? So in other words, you're telling me that you're using that as the loophole to not give people what they deserve, what these veterans who have been sacrificing their lives deserve? Like
And
you
that's what
said.
I was told. I was told when I went to the first VA, they were like everything, because I have two, deployments to Iraq. They were like everything that's wrong with you was from Iraq for that reason. Because they,
Yeah.
you say I got this issue, and they're like, was it in service of a combat deployment? It's like, like the dumb shit we did leading up to deploy, because I came in 04. And so, and it's funny because we're Air Force, and it's like, haha, you guys really cared about the mission, or like, yeah. But it was like trip and choke. They would, they would tell us your mission in life is to deploy. If you don't deploy, like if you were that guy who got your ankle broken, and you kind of like got out of deployment, you were branded for life as like you are like a pussy, you're a traitor to America. And that was really how we talked to each other. Like it was a badge of honor to sit there, even having a profile. Like, oh, you got a profile means you can't deploy, so we don't go get it. Yeah. I will run a mile and a half and it will be hurting, but we don't get a profile. And so, to sit there as, I remember getting out and having my medical records and being proud of that shit. I had, shin splints. And so it kind of like, it kind of, for me, hurt. Like, fuck, man, it kind of fucked up my thing. But I think it was in New Mexico, man. There was a CE commander there, civil engineer commander, that if you couldn't deploy because you were hurt, he was med boarding you. Like, that is like shit. I have a friend that got out that way, where they're like, we need you to deploy only. So if you can't deploy for us, your job is done. And they did that to people. I mean, that is a real fucking thing that happened.
Yeah, that's a reality, man. In my 2 years in Jersey with the contingency unit, you had to be deployable. If you got what they called a deployment availability code, where it put you on the shelf, you were fine. Leadership was like, good to me, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
But my thing is for us veterans, when we transition out, where do we go? You know what I'm saying? Like, these are you brief us in our transition and TAPS and everything else, who these representatives are and what their roles and responsibilities are. But when I actually physically go there to get your help, because that's your role and responsibility, you're going to give me, I can't? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. People with the disability, now that the way they're doing it, where you file before retirement and everything else, is smart. I'm glad that they're doing that and everything. But give these veterans what they deserve. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If their records are coming to you, showing you that they're broke like a joke, because the military, the years of military, the deployments and everything else did this to them, then give them what they deserve. Yeah. Don't try to side swap it and be like, oh, not service connected, or this doesn't count as a claim, or whatever the case would be. Give these veterans what they deserve. Dude, there's this guy that I knew, may he rest in peace, was my buddy's dad, Korean War veteran, 30 years ago, whatever the case was. He was an aircraft mechanic, an engine mechanic on the old school B bomber aircraft. They wouldn't even give him tinnitus. The man couldn't hear, and they wouldn't give him tinnitus. Come on. Yeah. What are you saying? What is the image that you're setting? The precedent that you're setting for these veterans from Korean War, Vietnam War to now, that we don't give a fuck about any of you? Yeah. That's to me, that's crazy.
The crazy fucking part too is a lot of times it's the verbiage you use, because they have like a little fucking chart, and if you didn't say this word, that it doesn't mean 50%. And because like I had an exam for my back, I found out I have a bulged disc, and so like you go to the CMP exam, he's like, touch your toes, and it's like, and that's where you fuck up at. If you can touch your toes, there no more back for you. Like, you're gonna have to fight for years. But the thing is like, of course I can touch it, because I'm in pain every fucking day. You get used to the pain. But you have to understand, it's like, I have to, and then also, they do all these things, and like your back, your knees, or whatever, it's different from day to afternoon. But when you go they'll tell you, like, when you go into your thing, it has to be your worst day. And you're just like, man, fuck, like, there has to be a level that you have to do where you have to play a role. If you want to get your disability. And and it sucks. It's like, what do you do? And then you got a lot of old school cats who are like, I'm not saying shit. Like, I know guys even now, they retired, they're in their 50s and 60s, they refuse to say what's wrong with them because they don't want to deal with the VA. And you got a lot of these guys coming out of the VA right now, or a lot of young guys coming out of the military. And I don't know about you, but being in the VA is fucking depressing. Because I look at it too, I'm like, man, I'm 35. That guy is 55 and 65. He's in a fucking walker. Is that my future? Because ain't nobody ever said this shit to me. And you have to start wondering. And it's fucking depressing because you see all their issues and you're just like, I got that issue too. What were they like in their 30s? Were they having problems too?
Yep.
And you know, and go ahead.
I agree, man. No, I was gonna say I agree, but let's clear something up real quick. For those that are listening and whatnot, I'm not saying do not go to the VA.
Oh yeah,
because there are VAs that out there that are good, that are willing to help and everything else.
Yeah.
But my big thing is like continue the fight. You know what I'm saying? Don't give up. Don't get frustrated. I know at times you're gonna run into some obstacles where you're gonna be like, man, this is bullshit or whatnot. But continue to fight the fight, man, because that's, to me, the perception that I'm getting from the VA is that that's what they do. They stall it. They make you get so frustrated to where you say, you know what, I'm not dealing with this shit no more. And the VA won. You know what I'm saying? Because now they don't gotta pay you. Now they don't gotta give you any benefits because you don't want to continue to put up the fight. But I was like, fuck that, man. I got nothing but time on my hands to where we could go all day with this. You're gonna tell me no? You need to give me real reasons why you're telling me no.
Well, there's even an industry within that industry now, because now you got lawyers who will do your cases for you. And it's like, you know, it's like, whoa, lawyers are involved now in your disability case. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, I only want 10% of your whatever you get. And it's, you know, for 2 years or whatever. It's a tricky road right now when it comes to VA disability, because there's so many rules. Like there's a I forgot what it's called though, but you can actually get what they can look at. Like it's public information to sit there and say you're back. Then these are the criteria to get to 50, 60 or whatever. Right. And so as long as you say those things, you get that thing. So it's like sometimes they give you the answers. Yeah. But it's like, it's kind of sitting there saying like, my answer is not a fucking issue. It's just my fucking back. I'm having these problems. And so when I got out, I was a personal trainer, and another personal trainer was an Army guy. He was a airborne infantry. Like had it like confirmed kills, fucked up in the head, had like injuries from actual, you know, doing parachuting and shit like that, doing a lot of jumps. I got a higher rating than him because I was able to elaborate, and a lot of that was because what the Air Force taught me. Certain words mean certain things, so I had to learn how to explain myself, articulate myself in a way instead of saying my back hurts. You know, for an example. And that was because we had talked about it when we got our ratings, and he was just like, how the hell did you get more than me? And I was like, did you say this? He's like, no, I didn't say that. I was like, did you say this? He's like, no, I didn't say that. Like, did you say this? And he's like, nah, they didn't ask me that question. And it's like, well, they didn't ask you these questions, but you know, being Air Force, you're allowed to like, let me make this bigger than what it is, or let me actually like kind of say these words. And so, you know, I mean, that's the frustrating part I think a lot of people get, you know, like maybe their job didn't teach them specifically to sit there and say, you know, what's another word to say this, you know?
Yeah, and the sucky part is that a lot of those that are like, I didn't know that when I was transitioning out. I didn't know the behind the scenes of what I would have to go through to try to fight for what I deserve. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, a lot of these transitioning veterans that are they're gonna have to deal with it, don't have that understanding, because they're thinking, you're here to help me. You're here to get me the benefits that I'm deserving of and everything else. But if that's not going to be communicated to me, then, you know, they're going to learn the hard way. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I wish I had somebody telling me before I got out, hey, dude, when you do this, just be ready. They're going to say A, B, C, and make sure you say this, make sure you do that. I didn't have none of that. It took, you know, I had to do my own research. Dude, I started out, I only get the benefits now because I fought for it. When I started out below 50. 50 is the magic number, right? I started out below 50. I wasn't getting shit. They were taking it from my pension. From my pension, they were taking it as my VA disability until I fucking had to do my own research and fight for it and everything else. But I wish I had people telling me, this is how it works. This is what you need to, like you said, key words. If you say this, if you're going in for a back problem, make sure your motion is not this amount. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you only can move this certain, bend down to only touch this certain amount of your toes or whatever the case may be. I didn't have none of that, man. And unfortunately, it's going to be like that for a lot of veterans. They're going to learn the hard way because, you know, there's really nothing out there to really guide them until they deal with it. And then they say, okay, who can I go to help me with this? My boy's at 90%. That motherfucker just hired some company to try to get him that 10% because that 100% in Texas is great. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? There's a lot of good that comes from it. So he just hired a company to get him the 10%, which hopefully he gets it. He deserves it. But for me, I feel bad for those with the PTSD, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
these are the ones who are already having a tough time trying to adjust, trying to situate themselves in the civilian world. And now you're telling they're going into an office that's supposed to help them, and they're being more frustrated.
Yeah.
They're being more put with burden on them because nobody really wants to take the fucking time to get them what they need. Like, it's crazy. It's sad, but at the same token, like I said, this is why I'm grateful that yourself and I'm sure other podcasts are creating these platforms for these guys so they understand that you're not alone in this. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? You're not the only one. Everybody is dealing with issues of all sorts, of all kinds in their life and everything else. But it takes you to take that step to say something. You know, take the initiative to want to listen, to want to get the help that you need. Because if not, it's gonna be a tough fucking world, man. It really is.
Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to start doing this, and I know you did it, and so it's not like negative towards people doing this, is a 22 challenge, 22 push-up challenge, right? My opinion on it was I'm not going to do it because, and again, it's not slight to anyone doing it. I understand, but 22 push-ups ain't going to do shit. Like, we can talk about, hey, veterans are killing themselves 22 like I don't, that's not going to do shit. A person who has a gun to their fucking head doesn't care that someone's trying to bring awareness that way. You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is. And so, as someone who's actually legit pointed a gun at their head and say, fuck, I'm about to do this, and just kind of think of the way out, I think the only way we can do it is as vets, man, and letting people know, like, hey, man, you're gonna experience, like, your experience is way different than mine, but it doesn't mean you haven't had troubles. You know what I mean? You're still having to transition to a world that you're not familiar with, and especially at an older age when you're looking around and these kids are not the kids that you even dealt with yourself because they're military and these things. And so that's why I got really frustrated with, this whole thing of like, hey, 22 push-ups, but it's just like, I don't think that's going to do anything. I truly don't, I mean, because that person who wants to kill themselves isn't thinking, man, like these push-ups, which is sad though. If these motherfuckers started doing some like PT and every day, that would help their mental side for sure. And there's things to help out. Like the VA does care. Like when I talk to my therapist, like she does care. And that's, that is a big, that does help that I can talk to another vet that is decided to become a therapist to help and understand me. So that does help. And it's kind of weird to be in those positions all the time. But that's what I saw. Like, man, we are killing ourselves way too fucking much that we have a higher chance of dying now. And I've known some people that I deployed with that have actually, committed suicide. And I've been there myself. I know a lot of other friends I've been there too as well. And I don't know what the answer is. I truly don't know what's going to help us. But I do know for a fact that I don't even know. I just hope that you can tell your story. I can tell my story. And people can sit there and say, like you said earlier, I'm not alone, And so I think that's what it comes down to is vets taking care of vets. And, I mean, and that's what sucks because you're now by yourself away from all your friends. You feel the sadness because it sucks. And you're trying to talk to them every day, but they got the military still going on, man. For them, the mission is still hot. And you have time to sit there and text. They don't have time because EPRs due, awards are due, man. The mission never sleeps. And that's what sucks. And so you feel that sadness because what you love the most was a commodity. Man, the pictures you and I have when I look back 11 years and we're in Honduras, it's always fun times, smiles, drinks in the air. I mean, to me, that was a highlight. It was a great fucking time. We had a great time there. But now you're where you're at, I'm where I'm at, and we start isolating ourselves because it's like, the fuck I'm gonna talk to? Like I have, people are like, they come and talk to me. It's like, I don't care to be your fucking friend because I don't need your friendship, man. I got friends. I call you, you answer. Shit, we talked, I think, just yesterday about doing this, and you're down to help, And then shit, when I talked to you we hadn't talked in a long time, and you're talking to my daughter. I mean, we talked. I don't know even how long, but it was a long time. That's family. Like those people I can call in a heartbeat. Boom, family. These other people, I don't give a fuck to deal with them. And that's what's kind of hard right now with, in your situation. Like, what are you going to have in common with a 22-year-old? Even I'm pretty sure you even have problems with a person who's in their 40s who wasn't in the military, because you got Turkey as experience, you got Honduras, you got all your deployments, you got the experience of life on your hands if you fuck up. And there's probably some things you made a mistake that you're going to take to the grave with you that you have to always internalize. Man, it's hard to really communicate with the civilian world because we're not the same, and I don't know if we could be the same.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, it's a hard relationship to try to create, just because you, like you said, it's the backgrounds are so different. So it's crazy because some of a majority of the friends that I know here that I hang out with and everything else are military backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? They're still in, or they're retired, or they were in and got out and everything else. Plus, it's comforting to know that I have my siblings that can relate because they're military backgrounds as well. My one of my brother, he's still in, hopefully to be retiring next year, and I'd still be hearing his stories about the fucking headaches he's having, or this lieutenant colonel this, or this major that, and so on and so forth. But you think he could call Manny from fucking Verizon to tell, hey man, I'm going through these issues? Hell no, man. But it's two different backgrounds, but it's tough now because of the fact that the classmates are young, they don't understand, and it pisses me off when I see their engagement and how the lack of engagement, the lack of discussion and everything else. But I'm fortunate that I'm able to have that military experience there with my brothers, my friends, and everything else. Like you said, I mean, even if it's just picking up a phone to call you to say, "Hey, man, can we talk?" Yeah, we could do it. Whereas, and I think that's what people still need to have. Like I said, it's that support, that support system. You still need to have that, man.
Right.
Because majority of all my friends are all military. Even some of my childhood friends back from Brooklyn, some of them are ex-military because they joined the army or whatever. But it's like, just even dealing with the whole transition, everything else, I couldn't just talk to my boy Ralphie, who has no military background at all, to say, hey man, this is what I'm thinking about. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Because he's gonna be like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what you did in the military. I don't know all the experience you have and everything else. So, but yeah, I think it's a relationship that you really have to create depending on certain people, and like, for example, one of my good friends who I met in college, he's a young guy and everything else, but his dad's Navy. So he has an understanding of the military lifestyle because his dad goes on deployments. His dad is PCS, and he's been, military brat, as they say.
Right.
So he's been around. So I'm able to easily communicate with him because it's like you have a little bit of an understanding because your dad's probably going through the same shit I'm going through.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It really is, and it just takes some time. But again, I'm grateful that I didn't come to Florida alone. I didn't just pack up my bags and just decided to move to Florida and say, okay, Israel, figure it out. I came to Florida with the help of the family. I came to Florida with the friends I already had here. I already had a home already. You know what I'm saying? And already people to communicate with and share stories with and get help and everything else. Because if not, man, it's tough, man. And I think that's honestly, like I told you, is why I feel like a lot of people, a lot of young airmen, when they separate, they go back home because they don't know anything better. You know what I'm saying? They don't know where they could go to or who can they call to say, hey, can I come stay with you? Or whatever the case may be. They don't have that understanding, So it is tough though, man. It is.
Yeah, because I know one thing that I face a lot, man, is I always feel like I'm that fucking freak. Because I'm still, my haircuts, I get them Mondays and Fridays. I wake up at 5:30. I was making fun of you yesterday for sleeping in.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I've tried to keep it this way, so I don't transition all the way to military, like to civilian life. I've kept it very regimental. I PT 60. I still call it PT. I still keep certain amount of things. And anytime I talk to a civilian, man, I feel like I'm the fucking freak because they're like, how do you do this? I'm like, you fucking do it. Like, well, you know what I mean? And a lot of my problems is the Air Force gave me an ability to be a problem solver. And then never once was I given the ability to be a listener. So I don't fucking know how to listen. I just know how to solve problems, especially being an NCO. It's like, hey, I got this problem. Well, let's fix it. Let's, we can do it this way. So, I know that I self-isolate a lot. And I think that's a lot of problems that veterans have is because, I do feel like a fucking freak. When we start talking, me and you, cool. I can make fun of you for sleeping in and you can make fun of me for waking up that time. And there's no issue. The moment I start talking to a civilian, they give you that look. And I've talked to my therapist about this look. There's a look people give you when they find out that you're not who they thought they were. You know what I mean? I've talked to a couple people and you talk to the guys and it's like, they kind of find out that have already, I was talking to a whole bunch of realtors one time and we were talking about something and they were like, why would you have the kid's bedroom up in front? And I was like, well, probably because, the back door is probably where you would rob somebody first and I started giving like how I would think about robbing somebody. And the guy was like, have you done it before? I was like, no, just military. And they were just kind of like, oh, and it killed the fucking conversation. And it's like, this is why, and to me, it was like, this is why I don't fucking talk. Because this fucking weird shit. Now, I could be wrong about how to do it because, I was not, I wasn't security forces, special. I wasn't none of that shit. But just how my mind thinks of like analyzing the situation. Well, maybe it might be this better. And it killed the conversation. And it's like, to me, it's like, this is why I don't fucking talk to nobody. Because there's that awkward conversation and someone's looking at you like, are you, because they have to almost think about it. Are you thinking about doing something to me? Or, you know what I mean? And I've had that conversation where, I'm talking to somebody. I'm like, do you understand I will fucking choke the shit out of you right now? Or like, I'm going to get excited to hurt you. And they have a look on their face that is pure like shock. Like, holy fuck, you are not like, I thought you were so quiet and chill. You're just quiet and like crazy. They kind of paint you that way. And so I think that's what a lot of veterans have, man. I think we self-isolate, because your personality and my personality are completely different, and I'm glad you kept that personality because that personality, I think, has helped you a lot. Like you are approachable, when I described you to my wife, I described you as the party, you're the life of the party. You're that guy, you're the guy that it doesn't matter who they are, what rank they are. They're going to party with you because Izzy is fun to party with. And, and that's what we saw. Like we hanged out all the time and it was good times. And you're always that guy. You knew somebody from somewhere else. You knew the lunch lady from somehow. I don't know how you got into conversation, but she knew you and you knew her son. You would ask her, how you doing? Like that's just your personality. And so I'm glad to see that that's really helping you out because I really do believe you can make a difference. And so if that's FEMA, if that's being a teacher, a part-time teacher, that's even being a big brother, I think there's an ability that you have that could really, really be a ripple effect in this world, like very hippie-ish, very thing like that. But, like I was watching a motivation video and Will Smith talks about that. Like he wants this world to be better because he was in it. And I think a lot of us vets want that same thing. It's just, and we got a skill set that can actually fucking help the world. And then when it comes to your command and control, when it comes to just actually caring, because you are a caring person. Before all this, like I said, you're the only person I know that would know the lunch lady's son somehow. Like you're the only, like when we go to chow hall, like you would know people all over the place. And I think even your maid, you were like friends with her for somehow. It was like somebody who comes cleans your hooch. You are like good friends and she loves you to death. You know what I mean? It's like, you're that guy. And so, I do think you can save the world in a sense, and you can make this place a better place. And the best part about it, you can do it on your own terms. And I think that's great. And so with wrapping everything up, what I would like to do is do a hot wash, and a hot wash on you getting out. So first we can start with, what did you like that you did when you got out?
I definitely like that I took some me time, that I took some time to decompress and just let the whole years of service just sort of be behind me and and just take some time for myself, man. Like I said, I stopped shaving. I let my hair grow out, because you had to shave every day. You had to get a haircut. You had to meet these grooming standards. I was like, forget all that, man. Now I'm just gonna do me. Like, just take time for me. Continue to work out. Do what I want to do. Maybe go travel here and there, whatnot. But take some me time is definitely, that was essential for me, man. I tell all my friends that are coming up in retirement now or getting out, take some me time. Do you for a little bit. Because you missed out on your kid's birthday so many times. You missed out on your anniversary so many times. You missed out on promised vacation so many times. take the time to do you and spend the time, quality time with your family, friends to make up for those missed times, you know? Because a lot of people, as soon as they got out, right into work.
That's
It's
what I did.
like, yeah, but I mean, take the time to just,
Yeah.
if you can, I'm not saying everybody can. I'm fortunate that I'm able to because I live with my brother. But if you can, take the time, slow down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Instead of going quick, 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 fast, 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 take the time to breathe a little bit, slow down, and appreciate every moment that you have in front of you, man. Even if it's just you sitting in the back drinking your little cocktail. My buddy likes to drink his cocktail, smoke a cigar by his pool. Do it. You know what I'm saying? Take the time to do all that stuff for yourself, man. And I'm definitely glad that I went back to school. I'm glad that I decided to further my education because it really does help. You know, I think I could have got a job right away just because of 20 years experience. But I said to myself, let's make yourself a better candidate. Let's make yourself somebody that will be a better asset to whatever organization by getting that degree. You know what I'm saying? So now, not only am I doing just 20 years, now I'm giving you a degree in the job and 20 years of that job at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that I went back to get my degree, and I'm thankful for my family and friends who encouraged me to go back to tell me, hey, do it, man, get it out of the way. So yeah, I'm grateful for that, man, and you know for the support, like I told you, the support system, man. I'm grateful for you, my friends, my family, all my friends that I've met throughout the 20 years of the military. I'm grateful for all of them to be able to pick up a phone and call them or message them, you know, Facebook, whatever, and just to simply say, hey, how's it going? You know, how are you doing? And just checking in on you and everything else. I mean, I'm really big on like I need if I haven't heard from you in a while, I'll drop you a line just to make sure that to let you know I haven't forgot about you and to make sure you're okay. You know.
So on that one, what did you do that you didn't like?
Oh man, um, that's a tough one. I don't really think there's anything that I did that I didn't like. Because like I said, I left out on a high note, man. I left out the career just the way I wanted to. I went out on my terms and everything else, and and I'm doing everything on still on my terms. You know, nobody's forcing me to go to school. Nobody's forcing me to try to find a job or anything. Finances are being managed right and everything. So I don't know, man. I don't think I could say there's anything I didn't like. I'm happy where I'm at. I'm content right now, man. Life is good.
And then on that one, what are some lessons you learned on your transition?
Oh, when you go back to school, watch out for these youngins. They're not the same now, but I think the one thing I learned from my transition is you're definitely gonna have to learn to adjust, man. Make necessary adjustments. Like I said, like we said, the military guided us. It gave us to go left. It told us to go right. If we needed certain help or anything else, we knew where to go to. Whereas in the civilian world, it's up to you. If you got a medical issue, you got to be the one to call the doctor. You got to be the one to get the appointment and everything else, or make the drive to where you need to go. If you need help or anything like that, you got to be the one to start taking your own actions. Where I can't call the finance, I can't call billing, I can't call services, I can't do this and be like, hey man, I need this and that. Nowadays, I got to research and be like, okay, who's the person I could go to get this help. I'm thankful that the VA is right next to me, man. So any issues I got, I already enrolled with them and everything else. But anything I got, I know where I could go to. My primary care is still at Patrick Air Force Base, so I still go to the base to see my doctor and everything. So I mean, I'm grateful that the resources are really close by me and around me and everything else. But that was one thing. It was, you're on your own medical insurance. You're on your own dental plan and everything else. Like, who's the doctor you want to see? Like, right now, dental was every year, right? You had an appointment, you had to go see the dental office every year. Now, Patrick Air Force Base doesn't have dentists for retirees. So now I got to figure out who am I going to go to. So I'm over here talking to my brother, like, yo, who's a good dentist? Hey, my friends, do you guys know who's a good dentist I could go to? Things like that would already been given to me when I was in. now I had to adjust to understand that, like to figure that stuff out now. So I think it's adjustments, man. I mean, it's adjustment in the sense there is there is nobody that you could just pick up the phone and call anymore to get an answer for. You got to look at yourself. You got to research it yourself. You got to find it out yourself and everything else. So I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned. But and have a plan. Definitely have a plan as well. At least try to come up with a plan to get you going. Like you said, I know you mentioned you had goals. So the goals is what kept you on the path to try to get to achieve somewhere. And I feel like you need that in a plan. Just something that's going to lead you on this path to where do I go from here. How do I get to A? How do I get to B? How do I get to C? So on and so forth. But you definitely need a plan as well. There's definitely things because if I would have just came in here just like cowboy, wild, wild west, let it be what it is, who knows what I would have been doing. I already
Yeah.
knew when I get out, I'm going back to school. I'm getting my degree. After that, I'm going to try to look for work with FEMA or anything else. Or, I want to live overseas. So let me start looking where overseas I want to live. I already have things in alignment for myself to focus on. So when I get to those steps, okay, I could check this one off. What's the next one? Okay, check this one off. What's the next one? But if you just come in like, what am I gonna do? It's gonna be tough, man. It's
Yeah.
gonna be tough.
So on that one, since we got that, so we got all those things taken care of. Last one is going forward. What's next for you?
Going forward for me, definitely is working with FEMA. I wanna be involved in emergency management. I wanna if it's not FEMA, at least some sort of emergency management hub. I want to definitely give back to help those in need. I want to serve a purpose within these organizations. Like I'm not trying to be working Mickey D's or Wendy's or my a lot of my friends joke around like, oh, you could be a Walmart greeter now that you're retired. Like, no, I'm not trying to do any of that. So like I wanna be back in the emergency management world. I wanna give back, help, because I love doing that when I was in the service, especially when I was in Jersey for my last 2 years, how we were sending the teams to these countries to help the people in need and everything. That's what I want to continue to do. And, learning now through the school how the state, local, and nonprofit, private sectors, and everything, how they all affiliate with emergency management, is something I didn't know because my community was military. My community was
Mm,
the Air Force. So any type of emergency management I dealt with was with military assets. Yeah, we cared about the base populace outside, but at the same time, it was my focus was the Air Force. That was it. So it's intriguing to see how the other dynamics play a role and everything else. But I mean, again, my plan, I want to get a federal job and then do another 20 years and hopefully get a second pension, man. And that's the plan right now. I want to be 62, 65 and never ever have to be working. I mean, I know people who are like fucking 70 years old still working. Like why? They
yeah.
just that's just them though. That's everybody's
Yeah.
different, but that's their work ethic, that's their mindset. Like they need to work, but I want to be just chilling. Like I want those to really be my golden years, where I could just go wherever I want to go and do what I want to do. So those are my hopefully my vision right now for the future.
Well, that's dope, man. And like again, I do really appreciate you doing this. Like I hit you up, and the next thing you know, you're like, "This is what time I wake up, and we can go." And true to your word, you woke up and said, "Hey, let's go." So I do appreciate it, man. It's been what 11 years since we were, I was
Yeah,
hanging out, but
little young Padawan over
I
here.
know, man. And what's crazy is like, and this is what everyone always says, and I always feel bad for someone who's never experienced this type of friendship. We pick up right where we left off. We could probably, I wonder, we probably were still making the same jokes at each other. You know what I mean? Like, if we get all three of us on here, we get Nori, then it's definitely gonna be some more jokes going on with
Yeah,
that one,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's like, and even when I talk to him, that's what it is too. It's like I feel bad. I genuinely do feel bad for nobody who experiences that. You and I, man, I think we talked maybe 2014, and then we talked like last year. And but it's no ill will. And then when we talk, man, it's like same thing. We picked up right where we left off. And so I think it's amazing, man. I'm so fortunate that I have friends like you I can call. I have friends that whenever we call, it's bam. It's
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
feel the same, man. I really do appreciate the friendships I created. the bonds. Like you said, it's a brotherhood, and I think that's one differentiation between the vets and the civilians is we have that, and and a lot of times is these vets need to understand, like, use it, man. You know what I'm saying? Your boys are not just gonna want to hear the good things from you. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, like, yeah, that's great, but we also want to hear the bad things as well, man, because that's how we help each other.
Right.
And if you're not doing that communication, if you're not doing that expressing, then things are never gonna get resolved. We're not gonna
Right.
be able to help things out. I'll say this as my last thing, but I had two really close friends of mine that were successful suicides. One of them did it because he wanted his SGLI to go to his child because he got into some shit, and the other one did it. I don't know why. But here's the thing is, and it's like I feel sometimes like I partially blame myself because I feel like I should have kept in contact with them more and everything else. But I felt at the same token is why you didn't say anything. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like why you didn't reach out, especially that we do have this bond, that we do have this brotherhood. Because when we worked together, everything was happy go lucky. And those are the worst ones, because you don't see the signs right away.
Mm.
You don't see the depression set in, and you don't see the angers or the frustrations or everything else that makes you want ask yourself, man, is something wrong with this person? Is the
Yeah.
ones that are saying everything is fine, that everything is happy go lucky, are the ones that are going home and thinking the worst. So I would say if you have these bonds, if you have these friendships, talk, man, talk, talk,
Yeah.
talk, call them up. That's why I said my philosophy is if I met you throughout my life and we created a friendship and bond, that shit's for me forever. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? Yeah, I might not have talked to you here and there, and maybe it might be a year or two that I haven't talked to you, but guess what? I'm still gonna hit you up and say, hey man, just checking in.
Yeah.
How you doing? How's the family? How's this? How's that? And the same goes for me. I appreciate when people just send a text, say, hey Izzy, man, I haven't talked to you in a while. What's going on? But it needs to happen. We
Yeah.
need to take that upon ourselves to make that stuff happen. Because if not, we're all gonna be isolated in a cave by ourselves, man, and that's no place to be.
Yeah, because the crazy part is actually when I talked to you when I was in Vegas, that's I was going through a lot of shit. I was drinking too much. I was probably trying to figure out how I was going to kill myself. And that the SGLI shit is legit. Seriously, like I was doing the same thing where I'm riding my motorcycle and I would just fucking get the throttle and put my head down and saying, "Fuck it." Like that's the only way I saw making money. Like if I'm gonna die, it got to be successful. Like in a way, there has to be some benefit to the family. And I talked to you, and I boom, I can understand where it's like I didn't even remotely let you know. We and you had a good conversation. It was laughing and joking, and there was no clue indication that I was having it because I didn't want to talk about it because I think a lot of it comes down to a shame. You think you're gonna get out and you expect to fucking kill it, and when you don't kill it and you don't want to let no one else know, I failed.
See, but that's the fallacy that we need to get over, man.
Oh
That's
yeah,
that's the that's the era of logic that we need to put that shit behind us and forget about shame. I rather you don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I was pissed off when I found out that they both committed suicide because of the fact I felt like it was selfish, but at the same time I don't know what was going through their mind.
mm,
But you left behind a mother, you left behind a father, you left behind your kids, your wife, and everybody else,
yeah,
even your friends that have nothing but love for you. You know what I'm saying? That would do anything for you if you would have just reached out to us. You know what I'm saying? But that's the problem nowadays. A lot of people, their pride gets the best of them. The
yeah,
pride makes it seem like, oh, my ego is I need to be on top. I need to be showing that I am okay, that I'm fine, that the fucking reality of life is not fucking kicking my ass. Fuck that. If it's kicking your ass, then that's why we're here.
yeah,
That's why we have the friendships. That's why we have the people that we could talk to let them know that life is fucking me up. But you have to let that happen because, and I'm blessed and grateful that you didn't follow through on your actions the way my other two friends did. But then again, it's like I look at them and I'm like, man, what could I have done more?
yeah,
Maybe I did all I could do, and it was just them that didn't give back. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I would never know. I would never know how the mind works. I would never know why people even go down that path because I love life. You know what I'm saying? I love my life, and it just it's in awe how people could even think the way they think, especially, like I said, he did it for the SGO life for his family. Like, damn, bro, was it really worth it? You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
now that he's gone, Now you're no longer here to help your family in the future obstacles
Right.
that they face. You know, the crisis that they're facing right now, where are you? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like
Well,
now you have the,
well, a lot of that stuff, man, I think it is you, because that's how I felt. You're causing the problem. So if we can get rid of the main fucking root of the problem, which is what I thought it was myself, then we're good. All the family needs is some money, and they're good to go. And I'm fucking like,
scary.
right, and that's sad, right? Like I said, that's it's bad. Like, and I
Yeah.
understand the flaw to that logic. And then at that time, that's how my logic was like, I'm the fucking problem. Let's remove the problem. And a lot of times too is, and not trying to blame the military, but they let you know, like, I remember being in boot camp, and I still find it funny that the Air Force did this in boot camp when I was going in. They said, hey, half you guys, well, I remember in boot camp, they're like, half you guys will die next year. We're like, holy shit.
Uh,
Right. Because the war was going on. This was '04.
yeah.
People were getting their heads decapitated. Everybody was dying on a regular basis. Death was in the newspaper on a regular basis. So they let us know, you will die. Half of you will die. And I deployed within, I was a year in, and before I got my year notification, or hit my anniversary, I was already scheduled to deploy. I volunteered and was able to go. And so I think a lot of that carries over with you, because like you die, right? Like, it's just, death is different for us sometimes, because we either know people who died, or we've seen it, or like you're in different parts of the world where, shit, when we're in Honduras, I still tell that story about, we're at the bar, and that guy, one of our friends, stepped outside like the gate and got robbed by a machete. And there was
Yeah.
guards at the club who could care less about this dude getting robbed, because it wasn't on the fence.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're exposed to a different side of this world where they honestly don't give a flying fuck about life. They don't value life like we do. And so
Right.
I think a lot of that kind of stays with us as well. And so we don't value our life. We think we're the problem, and it's a downward spiral. It's too much.
Yeah.
And we can break that chain. Hopefully we can save someone's life. But I can see, and that's sad. Like, I can see where you sit there and say, if I give you money and I'm out the picture, your life is way better. And it's sad, because like you're saying, like, what
Yeah.
about now? They left behind a lot, but at the same time, you're just sitting there saying, I'm causing so much destruction right now. The world would be better without me. And and I know it's a terrible feeling to have. And it's a terrible feeling that someone has to go through that, and they kind of keeping that to themselves too.
Yeah, and I think that's the downfall, like you said, is that they keep it to themselves, so you don't really know what's going on, man. I'm only good as the information I get. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If you tell me you have a problem, then we could work it. If I tell you I have a problem, then we could work it. But if we both keep our mouths quiet and we say, "Hey, everything's good, good, all right, see you
Yeah.
tomorrow," then there ain't no problem to fix. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we don't know, we don't have the understanding of what's going on, man. And then it sucks. And I hope people they need to stop doing that. There is no shame. Don't let the pride get the best of you. Don't feel like you're weak. Don't feel like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. No, your life is more valuable than what you really think it is. If I knew that you have problems like that, trust me, I would express to you how valuable your life means to me, Nori, and everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Versus you just thinking like I'm the problem and I need to get the problem out of the way. How do I do that? I take my life out of the way.
Yeah, man.
So
It's dark, and it
it
sucks.
is.
Yeah. Shit. And that's why, and it sucks, because we're talking about this, and it kills the conversation, right? You and I having a great time, and you talk about it, and it's like,
No, but
fuck.
it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well,
It's
that's what I'm
good.
saying. Like, we have to have these fucking talks. Like, it's just, it is what it is. And that's why I wanted to do this, because we're not having the talks. We're talking about the good times, and we're not talking about the bad times, and shit like this is happening. And that's why I truly believe with all my heart, it's going to take us to help this. You know, if we can get it down to 21, and saying that sounds kind of fucked up, but it's like, that's where we're at right now. We're trying to go from the very basic. Can we just get, like, can we make it an average of 21? And it's like, damn, that, but we look at life a little bit different way of sitting there saying, like, 21 is better than 22. And then we can use that momentum going forward, because there are, like, the VA has a crisis hotline. You can sit there and do it, and it's great. But like you're saying earlier, it takes two to tango on this one. It takes you to sit there and say, I'm having a problem. And because you're going to find out there's so many resources. You got all the people you served with, you got your family. Shit, I promise you, if you go to the store and, like, cry to a cashier and just say, I'm having a problem, somebody will help you. That is true. But it's that inside that we have to sit there and strip that wall down and sit there and say, fuck, I need help. And I think just saying that, will do that. And I'm hoping that when people hear your story, my story, all our stories, they can sit there and understand, hey, you know, even though you didn't commit suicide, you still have to deal with someone who commits suicide with you. And that shit lives with you forever. Like those are some shit we're going to take to the grave with us that we really don't talk to people about. There's some shit that I don't talk about at all. And it's just, it is what it is. And just kind of that comes with the business. But we have to really work on this part of talking about shit that doesn't, you know, it doesn't make the conversation happy. It makes us sad. It makes us reflect on things of our friends like that committed suicide and friends that have died and, you know, in action. But we got to fucking deal with it. Cause if not, 22 is a number and it's going to keep fucking going more. And, you know, what else are we going to do? You know, so, well, brother, as always, man, I thank you very much for your friendship, man. Thank you for being on.
For sure. Appreciate you having me on. I appreciate it, man. I feel like that more people need to listen to more healthy conversations like this, healthy discussions, you know.
Yeah, I'm hoping this starts the conversation. I'm hoping, you know, someone can sit there and talk to each other. And more importantly, man, I hope more people, other vets do this too. I wish there was 1,000 of these fucking podcasts, you know, because if they had one play, then that's 1,000 plays of someone listening to someone's story. So you know, I'm not even trying to sit there and say, I want to own the market. I don't give a fuck. That's why I make no money off of this shit. So I put it nonprofit. Man, I think we got to help. And, you know, speaking to your passion earlier of helping kids, I think this might be my passion where I'm like helping vets. Like, you know, I think it's helping people in general. I was talking to my therapist about this. Like, I don't really like people and I don't like to be around them in general, but I still want to help them. If there's a person who needs their car pushed, I'll push it. But I don't want to have a conversation with them. Like, I just want to like, hey, you know, help you out and get the fuck on. Like, I don't care to be your friend, but if you need help, I will help you. And I think a lot of us have that ingrained in us, being a servant, you know, being an NCO, being sitting there saying like, hey, your job is to make sure Johnny over here gets to work and, you know, does his job and learns his job and becomes the next tier, next generation of leadership. So I think that's where we're going forward, man. So again, thank you so much. We'll have to do this again, especially when it comes to graduation, man. I'd love to know what you're doing after that. And we got to make sure we're always in contact, brother.
Yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Later.